Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, coming at you live to talk about episode 10 of the second season of ClassicaLoid. And this was a phenomenal episode. It finally gave me something I have been chomping at the bit for the longest time. And that is some background, depth of characterization in the character of Liszt, as well as real, genuine history on the part of the composer, Franz Liszt, as seen through the memories and the reminiscences of our very buxom female equivalent, our ClassicaLoid equivalent of that character. And it was mesmerizing. And I think this episode was the first one, unless I'm being forgetful, I think this is the first episode throughout all of the entirety of the first season and the second where we're actually offered up some actual legitimate classical composition music. Just before the musique is summoned forth toward the end of the episode, we actually hear some piano play, La Campanella, and it was mind-blowing that, even though it was very brief, it was cut short, playing on an apparent real-world idea that Franz Liszt could be very, just emphatic and passionate in his play to the point where he apparently would abuse the piano and break the piano, and he necessitated 3 being on stage at all times just in case. I don't know if there's any validity to that, if there's any truth to that, but it is somewhat compelling that added aspect, especially because of the way they have characterized Liszt, the ClassicaLoid equivalent. She is very passionate. She's very much about love. But, love can be a very passionate, very fiery, emotion and things like that can be destructive, self-destructive or otherwise, Just look at day-to-day life, the living, breathing world, and you will find examples of this if you haven't already experienced it of your own accord, And I loved everything about this. Of course, it's all stemming from this inadvertent sort of adversarial dynamic with this Ritsuo Aoi or whatever, whose name sounds in the Japanese very phonetically similar to Liszt, Listo as they say, Ritsuo, or Risto. And so he's got the piano school, the music school. And Liz goes in there and says, "Hey, this is my name. You're not going to make money on my name." And so the challenge ensues, and she fails miserably at first because she's out of practice. But then Wa-kun, because of his rivalry with her, he, extends out of his position as a producer in ARC, everything like that. He makes it so that this is going to be a legitimate competition between both Liszt and this Risuto. And that way, it is somewhat hilarious. I love the spaghetti western music that plays when finally he's finished his piece and Liszt comes out early. She's still wearing her jogging fatigues and everything. She's been training, and short of actually hearing the Rocky theme, which is what I thought we were going to hear at one point with the training montage. And then she's up at the top of the staircase and, jumping up. She's got the boxing gloves later on. But that spaghetti western music, Paganini, who wrote La Campanella and was recomposed to be a piano piece from the violin, as done by Liszt. It sounds very Italian and such like that. So it's kind of like reminding me of the Clint Eastwood Fistful of Dollars and stuff like that. When you hear that little wisp of music, that very, again, spaghetti western music kicking up. And to learn about this unrequited love, not so much unrequited love, the true story that they allude to about Caroline, someone who the genuine composer Franz Liszt had a relationship with and was going to be married to. If you look up the actual genuine story, which I did after watching this episode, because I was curious what that was referencing. I had known nothing about Franz Liszt as a genuine human being, as a composer. And I looked into what the ramifications were, the surroundings were of that story. She was a princess, and they wanted to be married. She had been formerly married, and they tried to have it, denounced as not being a legitimate marriage, so that Liszt and Caroline could marry. And unfortunately, she had her hand forced so no, not only could she not marry Liszt, but she could no longer marry anyone else. You know, and it's such a tragic, lovelorn story, and this is part of, again, the passion, the idea of love, the concept of how much the Liszt ClassicaLoid character is surrounded by love and is motivated by that. That's why that is the chief factor whenever she summons forth the music, as she does in the end, even though it's like, you know, a boxing match, again, like, you know, Rocky. That's why there's still passion and love in every punch she throws to you know, knock this Aristotle back and everything. And by the end of it, he goes completely bald. He goes Saitama from One Punch Man because of how hard she's letting him have it and everything. And it was dynamite and intriguing, and just all of the insights that we garnered. It definitely made me want to look into the life of Franz Liszt that much more. Somebody who actually in the real world was very much, you know, associated with Beethoven and Schubert and things of that sort. And Wagner, who Wa-kun is based on, and it's really fascinating. It's the first time in a while where I feel like I learned something, and I had that interest in wanting to go and seek out information on the real lives of these composers that much more so. I immediately went on and like looked at the wikis on Franz Liszt and everything, and I've only read so far the aspect of his life that had to do with the Princess Caroline or Caroline. I'm not sure how that's pronounced, which of those two it is. But I was really intrigued by that, and so far that's all I've read, but I want to read that much more. In fact, I might do that after I am finished with this video, because I'm so compelled to want to learn more. And I included in the description, I think this might be the first time as well, breaking new ground, where I attach a video in the description of La Campanella as played to its fruition by, and I've written it down here, the performer Valentina Lisitsa, I believe, a very attractive woman who embodies, to my mind, like, did they base the design, the character design of the ClassicaLoid Liszt on her, maybe? You know, taking inspiration from her playing this composition? Because let me tell you something. It is gobsmacking. It is mind-blowing. Her performing on the stage, you know, the classical orchestra behind her, but she is singularly playing La Campanella, the Liszt, you know, orchestration of it for the piano, and it's gobsmacking. Like, you know, if you ever had any aspirations to want to try to learn to play the piano, don't watch this video, because you're going to give up. You're going to be like, there's no way in hell I'm ever going to go near that. She just is masterful playing this piece. And it's a piece that I was familiar with, although I must admit I did not know the origins of it. I never knew the actual name of it. I had heard it time and time again, but it was one that I often sought and wanted to find for myself. And again, it's La Campanella, and it's just seeing her perform this is mesmerizing. About as mesmerizing as this show, this episode was, in giving us those insights on the character of Liszt, the real life of Franz Liszt, the composer. And, you know, in the end, they're stuck with a piano now. And you know, luckily she's got a job working with this Rizzo at his, you know, musical school, because now she's going to have to pay for the rent of the piano as well as the rent to stay in the manor house. And everything drew to a close fantastically. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 10 of season 2 of ClassicaLoid. If you saw it as well, if you enjoyed it as much as I did, if you gained as many insights as I did, or maybe you have a familiarity with all of this stuff already, let me know that in the comments below. Our POVs can certainly disagree. If for some reason you didn't enjoy the episode, let me know as to why. And so yeah, otherwise, we shall see what happens in the next one. That'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.